She only meant to sell him one night of shelter, nothing more. But the man bleeding on her floor would become the first one she ever trusted. The winter in the Idaho mountains didn't settle in. It attacked. The wind clawed at Mara Whitlock's cabin like it wanted inside. Boards groaned. The roof rattled. Snow forced itself through every weakness it could find. Mara fought it the way she fought everything now. Alone. Her hands were cracked open from cold and work. Blood dried into the lines of her skin. She drove a nail into the fence post. Missed. Hit again. Harder. The land had already taken enough. It had taken her cattle. It had taken her money. It had taken Eben. Now it was coming for what little she had left. A blur of gray, fast, low to the ground. The coop exploded into noise. Mara turned, already moving. The shotgun was in her hands before she thought. The coyote bolted from the shadows, a hen hanging limp from its jaws. The blast split the storm. The animal dropped hard into the snow. Silence. Then just wind again. Mara stood there, breathing hard. Not fear. Anger. Everything out here was starving. Even her. She dragged the dead hen inside, kicked the door shut, dropped the bar into place. The cabin was small. One cot, one table, one fire barely holding on. It was the only place she had left. Then, a hit. Not a knock. Another. Mara froze. No one came this far in winter. No one. "Who's there?" she called. A voice came through the wood, low, rough. "Shelter." Mara moved to the window, wiped frost away with her sleeve. Looked. He was big, wrapped in thick furs crusted with ice, leaning against the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Dark blood spread across his shoulder. Fresh, still moving. "Go away," she said flatly. "I've got nothing for you." He didn't argue, didn't plead. He dropped his pack into the snow, reached inside, pulled out a bundle, thick, dark pelts. Perfect. Heavy. 10. Prime beaver. Mara stared. 10 furs. That was flour, feed, powder, debt. Survival. "For the floor," he said. "One night." She looked at him again. Really looked. He wasn't bluffing. He wasn't strong. He was dying. Her stomach tightened. Eben had taught her what men could be. Loud, cruel, taking. This one was barely standing. "Just the floor," she said sharply. "You try anything, I shoot you." He nodded once. That was all. Mara pulled the door open. The wind slammed it wide, snow blowing in hard. He stepped inside, stumbled, collapsed near the fire. Didn't look at her, didn't speak again. Just turned toward the heat, like it was the last thing keeping him alive. Mara shut the door, dropped the bar back into place. Then she stood there, watching him. The furs lay just inside the threshold. Payment, already given. One night, that was the deal. Nothing more. That night, she didn't sleep. The stranger burned with fever, breathing rough, broken. Near midnight, he started to speak. Not loud, not angry. "Let him go. Not again." Mara sat up slowly, shotgun in her lap, eyes fixed on him. She knew the sound of a dangerous man. She had lived with one. This wasn't that. This was something else. Something broken. And for the first time that night, Mara Whitlock understood something she hadn't expected. Letting him in might not be the mistake. Letting him stay that would be. By dawn, he was worse. The fever had taken him, skin burning, breath shallow, body shaking like it was fighting something it couldn't win. Mara stood over him, didn't touch him, didn't speak, just watched. The wound on his shoulder had turned dark, swollen, wrong. She knew that smell. Infection. Rot. He wouldn't last another day. Her eyes drifted to the door, then to the furs, still there, untouched. Payment already made. She could drag him outside, let the cold finish what the wound had started, take the pelts, survive. No one would know. No one would care. Mara exhaled slowly, then moved. She filled a pot with snow, set it over the fire, watched it melt. Didn't rush, didn't hesitate. Decision made. She pulled out what she had left, a needle, thread, a small bottle of Eben's whiskey, and a knife. "This will hurt," she said. He didn't respond, didn't wake. Not yet. She pressed a hot cloth against the wound. His eyes snapped open. He grabbed her wrist, fast, strong, iron tight. Mara didn't flinch. "You're infected," she said calmly. "Hold still or lose the arm." His eyes, gray, fevered, locked on hers, searching, measuring. Then, slowly, he let go. "Good," she said. She poured the whiskey straight into the wound. His body arched. A sound tore from his throat, raw, but he didn't fight her. Mara didn't stop, didn't hesitate. She held the knife and dug. Blood, heat, rot. Her hands stayed steady. Even when his breath turned ragged, even when his body shook, even when her own vision blurred for a second. Then, the bullet came free. Mara dropped it aside, pressed cloth, stitched clean, tight, precise. By the time she finished, her hands finally started to shake. Not from fear, from what she had chosen. He passed out again, breathing still rough, but alive. Mara sat back slowly, watched him. "You paid for one night," she said quietly. "The rest is interest." 2 days passed. The fever broke, slowly, reluctantly. On the morning of the third day, his eyes opened, clear, focused. He looked at the ceiling first, then the fire, then her. "You dug it out," he said, his voice dry, controlled. "It was festering," Mara replied. Simple, no softness. She held his gaze, didn't look away. "You paid for one night. The rest, I decided." Something shifted in his eyes. Not gratitude, not surprise. Recognition. "My name's Wyatt," he said. Mara nodded once. "Mara." No more words. None needed. By afternoon, he tried to stand. Failed once. Tried again. Succeeded. Barely. By evening, he was outside, fixing her fence with one arm. Mara watched from the doorway. Didn't stop him. Didn't thank him. Just watched. He wasn't staying for the floor anymore. He was earning his place. And somewhere between the wound, the silence, and the work, something in that cabin changed. It wasn't empty anymore. The storm passed, but it didn't take the tension with it. The land looked clean again, white, still, too still, like something was waiting. Wyatt worked through it, didn't slow, didn't complain. Fence first, then the roof, then the woodpile. Every movement careful, controlled, like pain was there, but not allowed to matter. Mara watched him more now, not openly, but enough. He didn't ask for anything, didn't take, didn't push. He worked, and when he stopped, he sat quiet. That was new. Evenings came softer now. Mara cooked what little she had. Wyatt brought in rabbits, lean but enough. They spoke sometimes, not much, just enough. The silence between them was different, shared. One evening, Mara sat near the fire, brushing out her hair, slow, careful. Wyatt sat across from her, looking at the flames until he wasn't. She felt it, his eyes. Not hunger, not claim, just attention. "You planning to stay here forever?" he asked, his voice quiet, neutral. Mara didn't stop brushing. "This land's mine. Why would I leave?" Wyatt's gaze dropped to her hands, rough, scarred. "Because men don't forget land like this." Mara's hands stopped, just for a second. She knew what he meant. "Gideon Pike," she said, not a question. Wyatt didn't look surprised. "Big man in Three Forks?" She nodded once. "He tried to take it after Eben died." Her voice stayed steady, but something underneath it tightened. "He said I couldn't hold it alone." Wyatt leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing just a fraction. "Men like that don't stop trying. They come back." Mara met his gaze now, full, direct. "Let him." Something passed between them, not spoken, but understood. 3 days later, the knock came. Mara froze. Wyatt didn't. He stepped to the side of the door, rifle already in his hands, body angled, invisible from outside. "Who is it?" Mara called. "Land office," a voice answered, smooth, too smooth. "Inspection." Mara's stomach tightened. She moved to the door, opened it just enough. 2 men stood there, clean coats, easy smiles, eyes that didn't belong. "Mrs. Whitlock," the taller one said, "we're here on behalf of Mr. Pike. He's filing abandonment papers. Says you ain't been improving the land." Mara felt heat rise in her chest, sharp, fast. "Look around," she said. "Stands, roof holds, livestock's alive." The shorter man didn't answer. He stepped inside, without asking. Mud dragged across her floor. His eyes moved slowly, taking everything in. "Looks real cozy in here," he said, "especially with company." His gaze shifted to the tools by the hearth, then to Wyatt's shadow. "You got a man staying here?" the tall one asked. "Against regulations, man?" "It's none of your concern," Mara said, flat, cold. The tall man smiled. "That's where you're wrong." He took a step toward her. Before he finished, the shotgun was already up. The barrel hit his chest, hard enough to stop him mid-step. "Get out." No shake in her voice, no hesitation. The men froze. Then, a step behind them, Wyatt moved into the light. Didn't raise the rifle, didn't speak. Just stood there, tall, still, watching. That was enough. The tall man swallowed. "This ain't over." "It is for today," Mara said. They backed out, fast, the door shut. The bar dropped back into place. Mara leaned against it, breathing steady, but her pulse loud in her ears. Wyatt stepped closer, slow, careful. "You did good." She looked up at him. "I'm tired of being afraid." He reached out, then stopped, halfway. "You won't be alone next time." Before she could answer, both of them heard it. Not 2, not 3, more. Wyatt moved to the window, looked. His jaw tightened. 6, maybe 7. Mara stepped beside him, looked past the frost, into the trees. They came into view, slow, widespread, like wolves circling, and at the front, Gideon Pike. the man who thought her land already belonged to him. This time, he didn't come to talk. They stopped 10 yards from the cabin, close enough to see faces, far enough to shoot. Gideon Pike sat tall in the saddle, dark coat, clean gloves, a man who never did his own dirty work. "Mara Whitlock," he called. His voice carried easy through the cold air. "You've been avoiding lawful business." Mara stepped onto the porch, shotgun resting against her shoulder. "I don't owe you anything." Pike smiled, slow, patient. "Oh, but you do. 3 years' taxes. $40. The number landed heavy. Mara didn't move, didn't blink. "This land is mine." Pike tilted his head slightly. Then his eyes shifted, past her, to Wyatt. "Well now, that's interesting." Something changed in his face, subtle, sharp. "You're harboring a wanted man." Mara felt it, like ice in her spine. She didn't look at Wyatt, didn't need to. "Wyoming sheriff's got a price on him," Pike continued. "For murder." The word hung in the air, heavy, ugly. Mara finally turned her head, just enough to see him. Wyatt didn't look at her. He was watching Pike. "Right off my land." His voice didn't rise, didn't threaten, but something in it made men listen. "Or I start shooting." The hired guns shifted, hands tightening on rifles, eyes flicking between them. Pike studied him, then Mara, then the cabin. "This isn't finished. You've got 48 hours. He pulled his horse back. The others followed. The field emptied. Silence came back. But it wasn't the same silence. Mara lowered the shotgun, slowly. "You're wanted." Wyatt nodded once. "For murder." He said it plain. No excuse, no story. Mara held his gaze, searching, measuring. "And they'll come back." Wyatt's jaw tightened. "Next time, they won't talk." Mara looked past him, at the land, at the cabin, at everything she had left. "Then we don't run." Her voice didn't shake. "We stand." That was the moment. Not loud, not dramatic, but final. The 48 hours passed slowly. They worked, didn't waste time. Wyatt reinforced the door, thick planks across the frame, dragged logs against the weak walls, checked every window, every angle. He showed her how to reload faster, how to aim low in the snow, how to listen past the wind. Mara learned, fast. Fear had burned away. What remained was something harder. "This cabin ain't much," Wyatt said quietly, checking the rifle one last time. "But it'll hold." "For how long?" she asked. "Long enough for them to regret coming." Dawn came cold, gray, still. Then they returned. More spread this time, wider, prepared. Pike sat at the center, like he already owned the land. "Last chance," he called. $40 or you're out." Mara stepped forward, onto the porch again, shotgun steady. "You'll have to drag me." Pike's expression hardened. "Fine." The first shot hit the cabin wall. Wood exploded beside her head. Wyatt fired back instantly. One rider dropped, hard into the snow. The field erupted. Gunfire, smoke, shouting. Mara ducked inside, reloaded, hands moving without thinking. Wyatt moved beside the window, calm, precise, firing again. Another man fell. One of Pike's men rushed forward, torch in hand. Mara stepped out, fired. The man flew backward, torch rolling into the snow. Inside, Wyatt jerked suddenly. Blood spread dark across his thigh. "No!" Mara grabbed him, pulled him back hard. "I'm fine," he growled. "Keep shooting." The cabin groaned, wood splintering. "They'll burn it!" Mara's eyes moved fast, thinking, calculating. Then she moved. Out the back, low, fast, snow kicking under her boots. She reached the shed, kicked it open, splashed oil across dry hay. Fire caught fast, smoke rolled thick, black, heavy, carried straight into Pike's men. They coughed, shouted, blind. Inside, Wyatt pushed back up, fired into the smoke. Another rider dropped. The line broke. 2 turned, ran, then 3. Pike tried to hold them, failed. He cursed, then pulled back, rode hard. And just like that, it was over. Mara ran back inside, dropped beside Wyatt, blood everywhere. "Stay with me." His eyes flickered open, barely. "You stood." She pressed harder against the wound. "So did you." Outside, the valley fell quiet again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It had been fought for. The valley stayed quiet for the first time in weeks. No hooves, no shouting, no gunfire. Just wind, moving the way it used to. Wyatt lived, barely. The bullet had missed bone, but not by much. Mara stayed with him through it. Days blurred together. Water, cloth, fire. She didn't think about anything else, didn't allow herself to. On the 3rd morning, his eyes opened, clear, present. Mara was there, same place, watching. "You stayed," he said, voice rough but steady. She didn't answer right away. "Someone had to make sure you didn't die after all that work." A faint shift at the corner of his mouth, not quite a smile. "You stood," he murmured again. Mara held his gaze. This time, she didn't look away. "So did you." Weeks passed. The cabin held. The fence stood stronger. The roof didn't shake the same way in the wind. Something had changed. Not just the land. Them. One afternoon, a rider came up the valley. Alone. A marshal from Helena. He carried papers, signatures, seals. Truth. Gideon Pike was finished. Fraud, threats, attempted murder. Men like him always thought they owned everything, until someone stood. The land was hers. Clear. Final. No more claims, no more debt, no more fear. The marshal left. The dust settled. And for the first time, Mara stood outside her cabin without looking over her shoulder. Wyatt joined her, leaning against the fence, stronger now, still healing. "You could go," she said, quiet, simple. "No one's chasing you anymore." He looked out at the mountains, the trees, the land, then back at her. "I could, but I won't." She didn't move, didn't ask why, didn't need to. "I offered 10 furs," he said slowly, "for one night." Mara stepped closer, just enough. "And I gave you more. I gave you a chance." Wyatt nodded, eyes still on hers. You gave me a reason to stop running. That was it. No grand words, no promises, just truth. He reached for her hand, slow, careful. This time, she didn't pull away. The wind moved through the valley again, not screaming, not tearing, just moving. Winter would come back. It always did. The land would still be hard, still unforgiving. But not like before. Not alone. What started as a trade, 10 furs for a single night on a cabin floor, became something neither of them had planned. Something earned. Something chosen. Something that lasted far longer than winter ever could. Forever.